Nanyat Kedapi Samagyachi Sakyayate Mama Namostu Nityam Tasyayate Mama Rasostu Satyam. Devi, I shall never ask you for anything other than the peerless service of your lotus feet. Time and time again, I offer my respects to the chance of becoming your girlfriend, but I shall only ever aspire for the honor of becoming your maidservant. Nothing else will do. I think he does his little additions in his translation. In the previous verse, on the strength of service to Sri Rupa and Radhakund, Raghunath Das Goswami appealed to Srimati Radharani for the privilege of being her maidservant. He wanted to be a manjari who accompanies Radha everywhere, acting as her menial servant, fulfilling her every need. In this verse, he expresses his firmness of purpose. His proposal to serve as a maidservant was not one of many options. It was the only option, nothing else would do. Sri Radha was certainly purchased by Das Goswami's purity, love, and service. In turn, she offers to make him one of her intimate friends. You can be like Lalita and Chitra. In that way, you are mine and also Krishna's. But the Acharya replies, "O Devi, you are the abode of Krishna's worship, so you are worshipable by everyone, including me. Still, you should not play with me like a cat does a mouse. Please be kind." The word Devi means both goddess and queen. In either case, the address implies that Radha can fulfill Das Goswami's every desire. Yet for purposes of her own, she continues to test him. She says, "I should also ask Krishna for his opinion on your appeal. I am not independent." Raghunath Das looks to the ground. Srimad Bhagavatam says, "Anapayani Bhagavati Shri Sakshad Atmano Hare." The goddess of fortune, Shri, who never leaves the Lord's side, appears with him in this world as the representative of his internal potency. Srimati Radharani is not separate from Krishna. Her decision is his, and yet she is also independent in her choices. The Acharya wonders, what offense have I committed to be rejected by her? Because Radha is the custodian of divine love and is therefore resplendent with its golden color, Raghunath Das calls her Devi. He thinks, I am a pauper calling upon the queen for alms, and she will not even open the door. What can I do? It is obvious that Raghunath Das Goswami has an overwhelming preference in terms of his perfection, and that preference is as a manjari. One may wonder why such an advanced Vaishnava is so persistent. Should he not be free of desire and simply accept the will of his worshipable deity? Are pure devotees not desireless? According to Rupa Goswami's definition of pure devotion, Raghunath Das Goswami is very much in keeping with the conduct of a selfless, pure devotee. He is free of taint. Pure devotion is described in this way, Anya balashita shunyam kyana kamadhyam davatam anukayena krishnano shilanam bhakti uttama. When first-class devotional service develops, one must be devoid of all material desires, knowledge obtained by monistic philosophy, and fruitive action. The devotee must constantly serve Krishna favorably, as Krishna desires. This verse spurns all variety of selfish desires in both the material and spiritual spheres. But it does not discount all desire, for that would deny a constituent of spiritual substance. All living things aspire after happiness, and their pure aspirations determined by their sthayi bhava, what they inherently are. Raghunath Das Goswami is now a manjari by constitution, and his desire to be that is natural, existential, and not a barrier to devotion. I'm asking the question. I do this a lot with Sri Ramaswamy when I read his writing, because sometimes he uses certain words for emphasis. So here he says, Raghunath Das Goswami is now a manjari by constitution. So I know he would have an answer for it. How would you explain it?
That brings into mind the question about inheritance.
Inherited? No, I'm not going to go there tonight. You know my feelings.
Yeah, I know your feelings. But it seems like, this contradiction is somewhat artificial between inherited and inherent, because it's both, as always in our philosophy. It's not either or. In one sense, it's inherent, definitely, because there is a constitution and nature. But at the same time, there is a process of becoming what we're supposed to be. So there is no contradiction in the real sense, because we're supposed to be somebody, but at the same time we are somebody, but there is a process of becoming it.
Constitutionally?
We are somebody constitutionally, but it's the same comparison which Prabhupada gives. Every child has the propensity to walk. By constitution, by nature, he has the ability to walk. Otherwise, he would not be able to walk. But still, there is a process of developing this nature to the fullest extent. So the same thing.
So how would you define the firm internal conviction that this there is no other choice? This is it.
How would I define?
Was it inherited?
Yeah, it's definitely no. Well, no. It's inherent. It's like what Bhaktivinoda Thakur is explaining in Jaiva Dharma in the last chapters, when they read the stories and somebody develops the feeling, yes, that's what I am.
Yeah.
So it's a certain intuition which comes to you, and it comes from the nature which is inherent. But still, despite of this, there is a process of becoming what you're supposed to, what you are, or what you're supposed to be.
When did it become inherent?
It's inherent from the time immemorial. It's our propensity to serve in a certain way, but it becomes clear to us in a certain.
I'm playing it devil's actually.
I understand, but it becomes clear to us at a certain point of time. It's always inherent, so it's always there, but we may not know about this. We don't know about this.
What about Sundar Gopal, who says what's inherent is service?
Yeah, but it says service, but it's not necessarily means that any kind of service. We are made to serve, but we're also made to serve in a particular way. So, yeah, he says it's teleological inherence, right?
Yes.
That's what he says. So by design, it's there. But, it doesn't imply that we're by design meant to serve.
Dasya.
Yeah. It's all service, but there are varieties of service, and the propensity or inclination towards a particular kind of service is also there.
So I know what one answer would be is that most people are attracted to Mahaprabhu's mission because that's their inclination to serve in this mood.
That's one of the explanations, which I don't particularly like.
Because I always have a hard time with that because of
it's difficult.
Yuga Dhamma Prabhataimu Nama Sankirtan Chari Baba Bhakti Diya Nachamu Bhuvan. Chari Baba Bhakti Diya. Lord Chaitanya, Krishna purposely said, I will come out to inaugurate the four types of loving ecstatic emotions of spontaneous devotional service. Of course, then there's an Narpatachinam, Shrita.
Yeah, Narpatachinam. Yeah. Very specific there.
How do we put those two verses together?
One way to reconcile it is that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives the highest, which includes everything else. So by giving the highest, he gives everything else as well.
That's a good, I like that answer. Yeah. I like that. And it's proven, evidence is there in Chaitanya Charitamrita, how the highest includes everything else. Detail.
Yeah, that's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu.
So, Raghunath Das Goswami is now a Manjari by constitution. Somehow,
some editor would probably have a hard time with the statement.
I know. I when we're reading together, I do this to him, but he's always got an answer. Well, you know his mood. And his desire to be that is natural, existential, and not a barrier to devotion. Having had the company of Rupa Manjari and a vision of Radha Kund, there was no turning back from Manjari Bhav. Which sort of like is further explains what the point that you made, this process. Having had the company of Rupa Manjari. There's no way anyone's going to associate with Rupa Manjari and not want to aspire. In the vision of Radha Kund, there was no turning back from Manjari Bhav. Moreover, the primary characteristic of bhakti is favorable service to Krishna. Das Goswami's desire to serve as a maidservant is certainly favorable. More than that, it is the best way for him to serve Radha and the best way to serve Krishna. The Acharya thinks, if I were a Saki, my affection for Radha would be diluted by my love for and contact with Krishna. As her friend, I would not have the right to shadow her or render menial service like an underling. I like what he does because he puts the philosophy in a context of a personal exchange, dialogue. Although to say that Raghunath Das Goswami is thinking this way is a projection. You know, that he's internally saying, giving his arguments why Srimati Radhika's proposition to become a friend is well, I think he more or less presents it as her testing of Raghunath Das's aspirations.
Yeah, but it's legitimate because it's more or less elaboration of the verse. It's kind of.
It's there in the verse. Contextually, it's there in the verse.
That's how acharyas commented.
Yes, and I've read others.
Yeah. True.
Who else is when you say acharyas? What other acharyas?
Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur does it.
Where?
In the commentaries to the 10th canto.
Yeah, in Napareham verses.
Yeah. No, it's quite common. When you want to make the point, he just explain it. Also, even in Bhagavad Gita verses, like.
Oh, you're talking about dialogue.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm not.
Not dialogue as such, but explaining the internal process.
Thought process.
Thought process. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
It's there. It's definitely there. Especially when you comment on this, like also Krishnadas Kaviraj comments on Bilva Mangal Thakur's Krishna Karnamrita. It's also there as well.
Mm-hmm. By the way, I don't want to digress, but you brought up Bilva Mangal Thakur, and I would somehow, for some reason, I was thinking a lot about him today, and I was thinking, about various. It's not connected, but examples of how elevated souls became influenced by, contact with
material energy.
Yeah, material energy, and how Krishna, still ultimately brought them to his lotus feet. Mm-hmm. And Bilva Mangal Thakur seems to be such a ideal example.
So much so that Srila Rupa Goswami gives him as an example of a sadhaka who still has obstacles on his path. And he says that this example of such a sadhaka is an inspiration for us to develop this. Mm-hmm. And that's why Krishna makes this.
Where is that? Is that in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu?
Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Specifically, he is the example of sadhaka, not siddha. Uh-huh. Because he has no obstacles to overcome, and when we read about his path and his difficulties on this path, we become inspired.
I somehow I had this meditation today, wanting to compile, because of my conversation yesterday or 2 days ago.
Oh, I see. Okay.
somehow that conversation kind of
Sparked.
the desire to compile evidences from Shastra. And the first person that came to mind was Bilva Mangal Thakur. And I was meditating on that today. I'm sure there's others, but there's many others. But Bilva Mangal Thakur, where is there, I mean, Prabhupada tells a story, but besides Krishna Karnamrita, is there any place else with the story of
The
Bilva?
story itself, it's in Bhaktamala.
Bhaktamala.
Yeah. It's in Bhaktamala of Priyadas. And yeah. I mean, it's not a verifiable story, so to speak, but it's all, it's all based on this Chintamani in the first verse of Krishna Karnamrita. But it's a very common story. Yeah. It's in Bhaktamala.
Not verifiable, meaning that
I mean, nobody knows the source of the story as such. Because they say that he was long ago. Nobody knows when he was. It's,
when he was time when he was living.
Yeah. Some say that that 700 years back or something like this. That some say that he stayed 700 years.
Yeah, some say he lived a long time.
700 years.
700 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard something that somewhere.
There is some place in Vrindavan
where they say that.
Yeah. But there is a similar story, very interesting story about Vipra Narayana, one of the Alvars in Srirangam. It's a very famous story in Srirangam, very similar.
It's in Srirangam.
It's in Srirangam. He's also, Alvar, one of the predecessors of
What's the name?
Acharya. Vipra Narayana or Bhaktangri Renu. Very beautiful story. How he was one courtesan. She had a, she went, he didn't pay attention to her, and she became offended, and she had an argument with her friend, and she said, in 2 days he will be crawling at my feet. And she did it, but anyway, it's a beautiful, long story, beautiful story. But that's totally bona fide, that's verified.
From Sri Sampradaya.
Sri Sampradaya. Yeah, and the garden, which he was a gardener in Srirangam, and he had Tulsi garden, and was, somehow many of the Salvars were gardeners. And this garden is still there in Srirangam. He's the first Alvar whom you meet while entering the temple. So it's similar story.
You want to read a little?
If you want me to read, I can.
Yeah. Moreover, the primary characteristics of bhakti. It's the second paragraph on 590. Right side.
Huh?
Right side.
Oh, that's good.
590.
Moreover, the primary characteristic of bhakti is favorable service to Krishna. Dasa Goswami's desire to serve as a maidservant is certainly favorable. More than that, it is the best
I already read this, but it's okay. Cool.
It is the best way for him to serve Radha and the best way to serve Krishna. The Acharya thinks, if I were a Saki, my affection for Radha would be diluted by my love for and contact with Krishna. As her friend, I would not have the right to shadow her or render menial service like an underling. Moreover, were I to meet Krishna alone, Radha's faith in me would be compromised, as would my exclusive loyalty to her. Considering these things, I am convinced that the greatest pleasure I could offer Radha, and hence Krishna, is that of a maidservant. The Acharya's primary motive is how to please Radha. Thus, although his intense desire appears to be at odds with hers, it is very much in keeping with the mood of pure devotion and the conduct of saints. It should be remembered that Raghunath Das Goswami is already in the realm of pure devotion. He is an eternally liberated soul, showing how liberated devotees at the stage of bhava, or practicing devotees with greed, should express their longing for perfection. This eagerness has been described by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as one of the 9 defining characteristics of ecstatic devotion. Samutkanta, Haya, Sada, Lalasa Pradhan. Eagerness is chiefly characterized by an ardent desire associated with the Lord. This this word samutkanta is very interesting from the linguistic point of view, from the etymology. Sam means samyak, means perfectly. Ut means is the prefix which shows the upward movement, and kanta means the neck. So samutkanta is, this kind of feeling when you have very strong desire and you feel that your life air is coming up to the neck, and if it will not be fulfilled, it will leave the body or something like this. Samutkanta. So this is how in Sanskrit they express this eagerness.
Mm-hmm.
Eagerness is chiefly characterized by an ardent desire to associate with the Lord. Thus, an advanced devotee's desire to serve in a very specific way is in harmony with pure devotion. Such desire is indicative of one's constitutional identity and of the best possible way to serve one's Ishtadev. One may further unwrap such inquiry by asking, how can Das Goswami refuse Radha's offer? The answer would be by knowing that Radha's offer is not really her intent. It is a test to assess if he is worthy of his aspiration. Scripture repeatedly illustrates how superiors test their dependence, sometimes by misleading arguments, sometimes by contrary reasoning. When Parikshit Maharaj asked his guru how living entities could be freed from suffering of their sins, Shukadev Goswami tested his disciple by falsely suggesting that atonement was the means. Parikshit Maharaja then wisely countered that even if one atones, the inclination to repeatedly sin remains. Thus, nothing is achieved. Sri Sukadev was pleased with his disciple, that his disciple had assimilated his earlier teachings. Having passed the test, he was now qualified for more confidential instruction, and so the Goswami revealed that Nama Sankirtan was the sure way to be freed of both the propensity to sin and the reaction to past acts. Similarly, when Narada found little Dhruva searching for a kingdom that would surpass his father's, the sage tried to discourage the boy from the severe austerity such a goal would entail. He attempted to scare Dhruva with stories of wild jungle animals. but the prince wanted help and not hindrance. So he politely rejected Narada's advice to go home and asked for a suitable sadhana instead. Seeing the boy's determination, Narada became pleased and obliged Dhruva, initiating him. In this way, Krishna, or his representative, will sometimes test a devotee's determination for an attainment, and a disciple who is attuned to his guru will understand the purpose behind such stratagem. Stratagem, right?
Strategy.
Similarly, when aware of Radha's true intent, Dasa Goswami thinks, what I have asked for is a rare and precious privilege. No doubt, she is testing my resolve. Want to read further?
Yeah. What time is it?
It's 10. Oh, 10 minutes after 8.
Okay. Raghunath Das pleads, O goddess, in this life I have never asked for anything, and in the next 100 lives I will only beg for your service and nothing else. But Radha disagrees. You are praying day and night to join Gaura's entourage. Your pleas still echo in my ears. He replies, my prayers for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's company were the root of my desire to serve you. Although he is an eternally liberated soul, Raghunath Das Goswami is in the role of a sadhaka. Thus his aspiration sets the example of how regular sadhakas should aspire after the mercy of Gaura and Radha Krishna. Das Goswami's conduct is the ideal for Rupanugas. While in Puri, Lord Chaitanya engaged Raghunath Das in Antaranga Seva under Swarup Damodar Goswami's guidance. But it was when he arrived in Braj that Raghunath Goswami awoke to his Manjari identity under Rupa Goswami's tutelage. The spiritual path from Saptagram to Puri, then from Puri to Braj, was a journey of many stages, of which the finale would be entrance into Radha's Manjari and entourage. He continues, by Lord Gauranga's grace, Swarup Goswami taught me to meditate upon your lotus feet. Rupa Goswami described to me the glories of your service, and finally your lake blessed me with the yearning to be your maidservant. Really establishes the significance of Radha Kund, doesn't it? O Devi, do not cut down the flowering vine of my long-held aspiration. I have invested this entire life just in you. Will you deny an old man at the threshold of death? I always meditate on the expression swan song. How much before Raghunath Das Goswami's departure was Vilapa Kusumanjali composed?
Well, nobody knows this, but it's his last.
It's his last.
It's his last.
Yeah, but I asked this question before, but I couldn't get an answer.
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
No, of course not. But the Bengali songs about his life, they say that he was totally skinny and emaciated, and he was rolling in the dust of Radhakund, and his whole body was, smeared with the dust and mixed with the tears from his eyes. Quite a
Graphic.
Yeah, painful too. How
How can the those lacking devotion understand. This,
Yeah.
we were discussing that yesterday. I was talking about Brihad Bhagavatamrita, how Sanatana Goswami explains that non-devotees could never understand that perfection is misery, and therefore it needs to be hidden. He even gave evidence that how there was a particular verse in the Bhagavatam. I think it was the verse about when a devotee chants in ecstasy. That verse in the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam. It's described as feeling. The verse by Sridhar Swami's commentary was presented as feeling great ecstasy from the chanting of the holy name, simply for those who would not be able to understand that those who chant in the mood of separation don't feel that their ecstasy is visible suffering. But it gives the impression, I think Sridhar Swami in his commentary gives the impression that it's not suffering, it's great joy, great bliss. Otherwise people would reject bhakti, thinking that if perfection is suffering, then people would turn to impersonalism. And he uses that verse from the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam to emphasize the appearance of great joy and bliss from chanting the holy name of the Lord. So, what a picture! Seeing Raghunath Das Goswami rolling in the dust, mixed with his tears, smeared all over his body, and crying in agony.
Emaciated.
Crying in agony. Yeah. Huh? That describes the situation?
Sweet, sugar, liquid, and poison.
Uh-huh.
It's Madhya River, second chapter. Те, кто попал в любовь к Верховному Господу, уподобляет ее горячему сахарному тростнику. Он так обжигает, что его невозможно обойти, но при этом настолько вкусен, что от него невозможно оторваться. Таким образом, если у человека есть хотя бы крупица любви к Богу, он способен понять ее любимую силу. Эту любовь можно сравнить лишь с ядом и нектаром, смешанными вместе.
На английском? На английском?
In the verse about Mahaprabhu, Maharaj says that Raghunath Das Goswami preferred to remember only ecstasies of Mahaprabhu when he was with the raised hands, dancing and walking next to the Jagannath Mandir and singing Hari Hari Nama Krishna. And other ecstasies were devastating to him, so he preferred not to remember them. And I asked Shivara Maharaj, was he not advanced at that time enough, Raghunath Das, to actually feel the same feelings and understand? He said, no, those ecstasies were devastating for Raghunath Das Goswami, for even for Swarupa Goswami, but especially limbs would black of color.
Oh yeah, of course.
The teeth would move, and no one would relate to it. It was even advanced devotees, even Swarupa Goswami could not enjoy that view. So certain ecstasies are totally not enjoyable even by great Vaishnavas.
Yeah, it's in Chaitanya Charitamrita. When they found Lord Chaitanya in Puri, in the ocean, coming from the sea. What's the place called?
It's towards
When the
Connacht.
fishermen.
It's Connacht.
Yeah.
Near Connacht.
When the fishermen found him, and they came upon him, they couldn't tolerate seeing his body disfigured. That's why they tried to bring him back into external consciousness. Huh?
Should I read in English?
Yes, who found it, read it.
If one tastes such love of God, he can compare it to hot sugar cane. When one chews hot sugar cane, his mouth burns, yet he cannot give up even half. Similarly, if one has but little love of God, he can perceive its powerful effect. It can only be compared poison and nectar mixed together.
Okay. Where did I leave off? He continues.
O Devi,
O Devi,
do not cut
do
down.
not cut down the flowering vine of my long-held aspiration. I have invested this entire life just in you. Will you deny an old man at the threshold of death? Srimati Radharani can examine her devotee for only so long before her naturally soft heart completely melts in the fire of his longing. She placed the offer of her illustrious friendship before him, knowing well what the Acharya's response would be. Of the young gopis in Raj, Radha's friends like Lalita are considered the best. Their love is flawless and supreme among the 5 kinds of Sakhis. Sakhi, Nitya Sakhi, Prana Sakhi, Priya Sakhi, and Paramaprishta Sakhi. The love of the gopis ascends incrementally from Sakhis through to Paramaprishta Sakhis. Slightly greater than the affection of the Sakhis is that of the Nitya Sakhis. Somewhat greater than that is the affection of the Prana Sakhis. Greater yet is the love of the Priya Sakhis. And even greater than theirs is the love of the Paramaprishta Sakhis. In addition, the gopis are almost always in groups of 3, 5, or 8. They reside under the guidance of a group leader, Yuteshwari, and they are either in one of 2 categories, Sama and Asama. The Sama gopis have the same affection for Krishna as for their group leader, while the Asama gopis have unequal affection. That means Asama gopis are of 2 kinds. Those who love their Yuteshwari more than Krishna, and those who love Krishna more than their Yuteshwari. The Sakhis love Krishna more than their group leader, while the Nitya Sakhis and the Prana Sakhis have slightly greater affection for their leader than for Krishna. By contrast, the Priya Sakhis and the Paramaprishta Sakhis, also known as Priyanama Sakhis and Asta Sakhis, love Krishna and their Yuteshwari equally. Of these 2 groups of Samasneha Sakhis, gopis with equal love, it is said, Tulya pramanakam prema vayantyo pi dvayor ima, radhaya vayam ityuchaya avimanam upashritaha, paramaprishta sakyas cha priya sakyas chata mataha. Those Sakhis whose love for Krishna and their group leader is equal, and yet who identify themselves as belonging to Radha, are known as Paramaprishta Sakhis and Priya Sakhis. These 5 kinds of Sakhis are active participants in Radha Krishna's pastimes of love, for they are both the causes and the guardians of loving exchanges. They are well versed in the art of increasing Krishna's love for the Yuteshwari and of her love for him. Sometimes they incite the group leader to capriciousness. Then they lighten the atmosphere by jokingly arranging a meeting between the 2. Often, Radha's in-laws pose such formidable obstacles to meeting Krishna that she is almost thwarted. Yet these clever Sakhis know how to overcome social and familial obstacles and unite the hero and the heroine. When they do, they consider their lives successful. Of all Yuteshwaris, Radha is the foremost. Her Ashtasakis form the most illustrious group, and the loving exchanges between these Sakis and the divine couple is without peer. Although these Paramaprishta Sakis have equal love for Radha and Krishna, they have a preference for Radha and identify themselves as her followers. This inclination towards Radha is so strong that although these gopis are qualified to be Yuteshwaris in their own right, they prefer the role of a confidential friend. But they do not want to compete with Radha for Krishna's affections, or be deprived of her trust by enjoying with him. Yet to enrich the divine couple's pastimes, the Ashtasaki's affection oscillates, sometimes slightly favoring Radha, sometimes favoring Krishna. If Krishna does not arrive on time at the assigned meeting place, and Radha is made anxious waiting for him, the Priyanama Sakis will favor her. But if on another occasion Radha displays an unwarranted huff, spurning Krishna for no good reason, these Sakis will take Krishna's side and chastise Radha, thus showing greater affection for him. In this verse of Vilapa Kusumanjali, Radha appears to have offered Raghunath Das Goswami access to this unique group of Priyanama Sakis and to their very exalted love, but in his own humble way, he turns it down. Devi, over and over I offer my prostrated obeisances to your friends, to your friendship, and to your offer of friendship. Radha replies, then? Although I always worship your dear friends, I do not covet a position like theirs. She asks, then what is it that you want? He replies, I have been repeating my request this entire lifetime. I asked him about this. It's just emphasis. Because he previously said it evolved. He said it's just for emphasis. I've been repeating my request this entire lifetime. She nods knowingly. I desire that sweetest of all sweet things. Suppressing her smile, she asks, what is that sweetest thing? The privilege of being your servant. That is all. Nothing more, nothing less. The underlying force driving Raghunath Das Goswami's insistence on taking the role of Radha's maidservant is his love. It is one of the two kinds of love possessed by Vraja Gopis called Bhavalasrati. Rupa Goswami writes, Sancharisyat Samanova Krishna Ratya Suhidrati Arika Pushyamana Ched Bhavalasarati. If the love of Radha's associates towards her as a friend is equal to or less than their love for Krishna, then that love is a sanchari bhav of love for Krishna and is called Suhid Rati. If, however, the love of Radha's associates towards her is greater than that to Krishna, the love for Krishna is a sanchari bhav that nourishes the friendship. This special love, which grows continually, is known as Bhavalasrati. You want to finish the section?
Radha's confidence, French word.
Yeah, I think so.
Radha's confidence, like Lalita and other members of her Astasaki, also share the same kind of Bhavollasa love. However, Rati Manjari Bhavollasa Rati is as a friend who is in a position of servitude. And because this service mood is so dominant, it is referred to as a special form of servitude in Madhurya Rasa. Radha reasons, perhaps you are too shy to tell me that you want to be my friend. Perhaps it's your humility that makes you say that you want to become my maidservant. Raghunath Das Goswami raises his hands in prayer. With hands joined, with palms joined, I beg you not to tease me. Goddess, I tell you the truth. The desire to be your Sakhi has never ever entered my heart, even in a dream. I have never had any desire other than to be your maintained maidservant, your Palya Dasi. Raghunath Das Goswami prayer lies in his Gopi identity. As a Gopi with Bhavolasa love, he simply cannot love Radha or Krishna in the way of a Sakhi. That said, it should be emphasized that he has the divine lust of a Gopi known as Kamatmikarati, as a result of which he is spontaneously attracted to Krishna as a paramour. But unlike the Sakhis, who desire to enjoy directly with Krishna, he desires instead to taste and share in the sweetness of Radha's enjoyment with Krishna. In short, the Sakhi's enjoyment is direct, and that of the Manjaris indirect. The nature of the Manjari's love is further illuminated by Rupa Goswami by the use of another term, tat bhavechatmika, which indicates a type of bhakti whose life, atma, resides in the desire, ichha, to relish the love, bhava, of Srimati Radharani, tat bhava ichatmika. Thus, the love of a maidservant is known by two terms, bhavollasa and tat bhavechatmika. By contrast, the love of the Sakhis is also known as sambhogechamai, because their desire, ichha, is for enjoying sambhoga with Krishna. The Sakhis are eager to delight in a romantic relationship with Krishna, and the Manjaris are eager to know Radha's ecstasies in her romance with him. These two divisions of conjugal love are expressed in this way. Keli tat paryavatyeva sambhogechamai bhavet tad bhavechatmika tasam bhava madhurya kamita. The term sambhoga echamai indicates loving devotion that is characterized by a desire for conjugal enjoyment with Krishna, while tad bhavechatmika specifies another love in which the gopis long to experience the sweet mood of those girls mentioned above, who, like Radha, directly enjoy with Krishna. If, in the definition of pure devotional service, the freedom from selfish desire, anyabhilashata shunyam, is taken to its transcendental extreme, then the tat bhavechatmika love of Manjaris can be considered the purest of the pure. All other mellows of devotion want to give enjoyment to Krishna directly, but Manjaris forsake direct contact with Krishna to serve those who are most expert at pleasing Krishna in the exalted conjugal mellow. In that way, they serve him indirectly, and in one sense, the Lord treasures the Manjari's love and service as the most favorable, anukulya form of devotion.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Hare Krishna.
Stop there.